Paltrocast. I have to say, before I say hi, how are you, and all that, impressive background you got there. I want more than I need. Is that a carefully curated background or just accidentally what stuff looks like naturally?
I totally live here. No, this is a still from one of my favorite Alice in Chains songs and videos. I do a podcast with my friends from time to time. We talk to different people, and I thought it was just kind of a cool background. You know, it looks like I'm sitting somewhere neat. And I love the "I want more than I need" sign. I think it says a lot. It's rock and roll, and it's just pretty cool looking,
Very
honestly.
Morrissey, not just Alice in Chains, I would say.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
you're wearing the Alice in Chains garb as well. You came onto my radar because of the drum. Do you call those drum heads? What do you call
Yes.
those things?
I think the technical term is drum head. I've seen different people call it, kick drum head. The thing on the big circle in the front,
Totally, yeah. The ones that you did for Sean Kinney, I eventually had to go, who did those? And then I saw the work for John Five, Nancy Wilson, Jimmy Chamberlain, and the Smashing Pumpkins, and you go, wow, where did this person come from? Well, what was the first of those gigs that you got?
So my first paying gig that I ever got was with the Smashing Pumpkins in 2021. So no pressure or anything. It's
Yeah.
the first people you're going to work with, and it has to be cleared by Billy Corgan. Okay, but it was actually a blast. It was for an anniversary of an album I really cared about called Gish, and they wanted a black
Mhm.
light poster, and they just kind of plucked me because I was a fan. I had drawn some stuff. Um, and that's kind of the origin of most of the people that I've been lucky enough to work with, who are, by the way, I've been so lucky. Everyone's very kind. I haven't had a bad experience yet. Um, and it really all comes from being a fan. I got to kind of be a professional fan in a way. I draw things that I like, things that I
Yeah.
find aesthetically kind of cool looking. And through the use of the internet, making good use of Instagram, I get people to see it. And so it went from the Smashing Pumpkins seeing something to Nancy Wilson was also a blast. She was actually looking for an artist that was kind of doing as kind of a soft psychedelia. I want to say something with more of a less trippy touch, but kind of still encompass that
Yeah.
energy. And I drew her on a whim, and she was like, "That's what I've been looking for." And since then, we've done so much together. And again, she's just a wonderful person as well. With Sean, I think that came from working with Jerry Cantrell, actually, which again through Instagram. Brighton came out. I drew
Wow.
him. Yeah, it's a lot of luck. It's a lot of drawing every single day, and
To cut you off right there, and before
yeah,
I want to hear more about that. Craigslist used to be all the rage, but you'd only hear Craigslist stories that were negative, like, oh, well, that person
yeah.
got scammed or robbed. And then Instagram, I'm used to hearing stories of, and then that person tried to pick me up. And then it got inappropriate. You seem to only have positive Instagram stories.
Well, I'm only telling the positive Instagram stories.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
Actually,
I cut you off there. Jerry Cantrell first, then Sean.
yeah, well, it's kind of funny because you're just on the subject of Instagram. You're right. I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm not the biggest fan of social media all the time.
Sure.
I think at a certain point you scroll through and it's like either nothing but selfies or kind of just influencers in the
Yeah.
wild. And so part of me is very, not with it, but utilizing it and drawing like every day, using it to learn things from different people, to see cool things, like music and stuff. I have kind of kept it on the positive side, and interaction. And it's one of those things, like, we used to have to write letters, maybe to a PO box, to a
Yeah.
fan club, with the hopes that some cool fan guy would write back to us. And yeah, with Instagram, that's totally made that easier. So like with Jerry, for example, I had drawn, Brighton had come out, and I had drawn him in a cool kind of just kind of feeling. Everything's kind of on a whim and what I feel like things sound like or should look like. And he reposted that and was like, "I want to make that a shirt." So his management company contacted me and like, "Let's do it." So we did it. And then I did some posters for him on the Brighton tour, which was kind of brought out in a similar way, which is something I'd always wanted to do. I feel so lucky to have done that. All the
Yeah.
other artists who did those posters, by the way, are stunning. They're amazing. I'm in awe of their talent as well. And then from what I've heard, uh, Alice was kind of rehearsing, and Sean was like, "Oh, this drum head," and they're like, "Dude, you should really update that. Like, you've been using that for a while." And I love it. It's a dog, so course, I'm all for it. But Jerry somehow brought up my name and said, if you want something trippy and kind of psychedelic, which he did, here's Sketchy Goat. And next thing I know, his tech contacted me, who's a wonderful person as well. And we got to working together. And I have to say, he has such a great artistic eye. All of the most of the reference photos he gave me, the color choice he had a lot of input on as well. So he's just got a dream client, great to work with.
The drum heads that you did included Ann B. Davis, A.K.A. Alice from the Brady Bunch, and Betty White giving the metal signs. And I think that illustrates that Alice in Chains does the most serious music ever about dying, and then the humor. And somebody once showed me a photo of a set list they got from an Alice in Chains show, and it would say, you know, man on the box, fart. Like, you know, that kind of a thing.
That's them.
Yeah.
They're such fun guys. And I got the lucky opportunity to kind of hang out with them, with Sean on this last tour as a, you know, thank you and like, who's doing my art kind of thing. And he is just, first of all, they're all so smart. And so funny and so kind. So it's just they're a blast. They're an utter blast.
And John 5 to me also falls into that category where the music is about pain and isolation and alienation. And that's a funny guy who likes monsters. And
he's so lighthearted. That's I've always loved John 5, especially because he just has such a sense of humor and such a sense of like camp, but in like a rockin' way. Now working with him was fun too, because I had another one, drawn him on a whim, thought this would look like a cool shirt design. I'm just gonna put it out there just in case. And I get a DM, hey, all it says is hey, nothing else, from John 5, like someone just messaging on Instagram. And it was like, that's a really cool drawing. And they're kind of freaking out, like, oh my God, it's John 5. And it turned into, can we put that on a shirt? How can we make this happen? And ended up working with him a couple times too. So he's a joy.
Yeah. So these are fantastic credits that you have. And to super date myself, when I was a kid back in the olden days, the Stone Age, the idea was you had to move to New York or LA to be an artist. There, maybe Miami if you were catering to the Latin market, maybe Nashville if you were catering to the country market. You get what I'm saying. You had to go to the big city. And here you are in El Paso, which is maybe the biggest city that nobody realizes is a big city. It is a cultural center that ignorant people like myself from the Northeast don't really get to go to very much because there's no direct flight or they're not advertising to us. But you're making things happen from El Paso. Are you originally from there?
Yeah, I was born and raised here. I love it here. And it's funny you mention that, because that's also something I was not necessarily told, but you assume. You know, when I was a little kid, the first thing I remember doing is drawing. My earliest memory of music, I think, is seeing the opening scene to Heavy Metal and hearing Blue Oyster Cult and be like, I want to draw whatever that is. I don't know what's going on, but
yeah.
And I assumed you couldn't do it. So I went to college. I was actually a history major because I've always been super bookish. That's what I care about, and was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and minor in art. And there's really some amazing art teachers that I've encountered in my life, but most of them got really pretentious, especially in college. And it was like, well, you need to do this, and there's a certain formula, and you'll never be a graphic designer. You're not clean enough. This is not the career for you.
Right.
And
right.
yeah, and
don't have an original voice. Why would
no, don't don't do that. And it's funny because there is so much local art here. That I'm a fan of. And I was like, well, I can't be them. They're doing something completely different than what I want to do. And 2020 hit, and I decided, well, I'm just going to draw every day. I'm going to draw things I like, just kind of focus on music, try and tune out what's going on or incorporate it into my art. And that's where things really started to take off. And I realized that if you try really, really hard, and I mean like drawing every day, even if it's a really bad drawing, put it out there, accept critiques. I realized that's how things happen. Being nice, putting yourself out there and trying hard is really the essence of becoming an artist, and not being pretentious. Because I think a lot of us can get caught up in, you know, I'm an artist, I kind of want to be Andy Warhol, but I'm not. And so just trying to be a normal person, that's also getting people to work with you. That's how to do it.
Sure. Well, El Paso, as a big music person, whenever I go to a city, I like to see what movies were filmed there, which
Oh, we
musician.
got a lot of those. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. I mean, At the Drive-In is from there, so therefore Sparta and the Mars Volta and Sleeper Car and all that whole thing is from there. Then I learned that Sonic Ranch is this world-class recording studio where everyone is recording, but very quietly. And there's other studios there as well. Are you entrenched at all? And it's okay if the answer is no, but are you in any way connected to the At the Drive-In Mars Volta Sparta scene?
So unfortunately not. A lot of people are like when I went to UTEP, I think someone's dad from the Mars Volta, he teaches Chicano history. I forget his name, but that guy is just stunning. He's amazing, a wealth of knowledge. But kind of the whole El Paso scene is connected in a way of being a fan. Like when you're a local and you go out and you meet someone from El Paso, you're like, oh my God, you're from Chuco Town. Yeah, right on. And it forms this like instant bond you have. And it's a beautiful thing. I used to be in a bar band in high school, kind of kept me out of partying and doing a lot of stuff. So I used to be involved a lot more in the local metal scene. But we have like this really, we're trying to like promote everything, promote the next Mars Volta, the next Sparta. And our local station, K.A.Q, does this thing called Q Connected. And my friend Daniel used to host it. And now it's literally just like an hour of nothing but local music. And every time people are like, oh, there's nothing to do here, there's not a scene here. You turn that on, you look online, there's so many rich and up and coming bands that are coming up. There's like a new jazz scene that started. There's tons of stuff. And it's kind of on the DL until you're into it and you're like, wow, how have I been missing this new world all this time?
I think I know the answer to this because you grew up there and you like what you're doing, but what is it that keeps you in El Paso of all places?
So I've been lucky enough to recently travel to a lot of different places, and every time I come home, I'm like, well, first of all, it feels like home. This is kind of one of those cities that everyone goes, oh, I'm gonna leave it as soon as I turn this age and I'm gonna do this, and everyone comes home. Because it's well, for one, it's beautiful. I mean, the mountains alone. I'm not sure if you got to explore any of our nature, but it's
Not yet. I'm hoping this weekend when we visit, we will see the hiking a little bit. I know about the breweries. I know about the hiking. I know there's the Margarita Trail. That's all I know.
yeah, there's a lot of that. There's some really great bars here, some new stuff, but I also love again, the mountains, the scenery, the Waco Tanks is gorgeous. I love the history of it here. I mean, what makes this town beautiful is just it's so many different kinds of people. It's a binational place of people from everywhere, and so the language is so different and so friendly. People are ridiculously friendly here. I mean, like you meet someone new and you're instant family. It's such a wonderful thing. So the politeness and the niceness is something that I think makes this place way different. And it's a city, so it has its problems like everything else, but it is the
Right.
most polite place I've ever been. It is the warmest place. People have their own identity that I haven't quite found in other places. I love how this is not a bad thing, but I love how calm it is here. No one's pretending to be something weird. Everyone speaks like a normal person. It's just it's a lovely place to live. And in comparison to other places, also the weather is perfect. It's just perfect 24/7. It is one of those places where if it drops down below like 60, we all bring out our winter coats. Like you'll smell fireplaces if it gets to a certain degree, but I love that.
Well, two quick questions and then I'll let you run free. And the first one is, do you have a favorite restaurant or bar in town that when somebody visits the first time to El Paso, you go, this is where you go?
Well, a couple places. I'm not sure if you heard about Cattleman's.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a drive out. It's just outside of town, and it's this old ranch. It's been there since the 40s. First of all, best like steak meat anywhere. It is the gem of Texas. Best steak you'll ever have. But they let you tour the ranch, so I have a weak spot for animals, period. And they have goats, they have buffalo, they have just all these things
Wow.
that you can go feed and interact with. And right at sunset, you see the sun dropping down over this expansive horizon with this beautiful desert foliage. And you sit there and you look and you go, wow, I'm here. It's one of those like in the moment, beautiful things. So Cattleman's is one. There's this restaurant called Fortes, the Mexican Elder. which I love. It's got a beautiful vibe inside, great food. And then this other place called Kiki's, which has been around forever, best Mexican food. And I love these old places. They're hidden gems.
Got it. Okay, those will go on the list. And the last question you mentioned before, the Alice in Chains related podcast that you have. And of course, you're always designing these things that sometimes become posters and sometimes shirts and sometimes just in cool Instagram posts. Are you allowed to say what's coming out next, or do we just have to follow you on Instagram to find that out?
Follow me on Instagram to find out. I will perpetually drawing rock stars, music of different kinds, things that just come to my mind. I've been given this great opportunity to kind of have a space where I can explore any kind of art, any kind of expression. And so if you like cool things, feed your eyes. I got it. It's on Instagram.
Paltrocast.